Let's see. Group number 1.
Okay, thank you so much. We are the group number 1. Integrants Viviana Gila, Evelyn Baño, James Castellanos. So we are going to present you the task with the topic idiomatic expressions. We have the general objective, communicate clearly and effectively by using appropriate vocabulary and language in a variety of oral interactions for a range of audiences and level appropriate purposes. The specific objectives are students will be able to identify and use idiomatic expressions, and students will be able to create a comic by using idiomatic expressions. Scroll down, please. Okay, so for the warm up, we are going to prepare a brainstorm. What do you think when you hear the word hero? What superheroes do you know? And we are going to create the task. Students have to create a comic using a storyboard. So before ask students for doing the task, we're going to explain the vocabulary about idiomatic expressions, and we have some examples. Look before you leap, take only calculate risks, the devil is in the details, calm before the storm, you nail it, hang on sick, miss the board, and through caution to the wind. So now my partners are going to explain about the phases of the task. Evelyn.
Okay, good afternoon, teacher. Good afternoon, partners. Continuing, I am going to talk about the instructions here. So here it is. We, as teachers, are going to give an example of a comic, okay? And the instructions are work in pairs, okay? I'm going to present the comic here. Okay, the superhero, here we have a comic made of 6 slides. So we have to present like this. Okay, there's a superhero. Okay, the mentor says, look before you leap, which means that you have to take only calculated risks. And the superhero says, the devil is in the details, master. So it looks good, but you have to look closer. So there's one problem. Okay, there's the villain who says our superhero will miss the boat, so he has not time. There's the lady in danger. So the people say, hang on a sec, sweetheart, he's coming for you. Here we have the problem. And also the villain is taking advantage of his powers. So he threw caution to the wind. There are some monsters in the world. And well, at the end, the superhero rescues the lady. So he says there is calm before the storm. And at last, the superhero saves the day and the world. As he says, you nailed it. So here is the comic made of idiomatic expressions. So this is my example as teacher. So let's return. Let's go back to the instructions after I present this. Okay. I tell the students that they have to imagine that they are superheroes. There's a kidnapped lady, so they have to help the lady, but you as a superhero are in a foreign city where the villain has taken advantage of his powers. So I'm going to present the link of storyboard.com. So they have to create a comic that represents the situation. Well, here's the teacher example. And they have to create a dialogue in pairs using the visual aid for the next class. Okay, but here we have some questions and answers. Be sure the students understand the task by asking for some details. Okay, so in pairs, they are going to have doing this have been doing this, and also for this we have some minutes. I think that they are 20 minutes. My partner Evelyn.
Okay, then we are going to continue monitoring students because they are working in pairs. So we are going to give them some linguistic feedback. Also, we are going to give them 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes to prepare to plan this activity, and students are going to perform the task for the next class. Also, students are going to reflect about their performance. We are going to focus on form. I mean, if they are using these idiomatic expressions, so we expect that they use these idiomatic expressions. And then a feedback if it is necessary. And that could be.
All right. Question. What are students going to receive to perform the task?
Well, I am going to give them the vocabulary here of idiomatic expressions. Also, I'm going to share the link of the comic.
All right. Remember that yesterday we talked about not telling them what language to use, right? When you assign a task to your students, they use the language they have. Yes, you can have a hidden agenda in your mind, but you're not going to tell them, I need you to use this, this, and that. You're going to give them clues and maybe something in the material you give them so that they infer what they have to use. But you don't tell them you have to use this or that. You have to use this grammar, you have to use this vocabulary. They are supposed to work with the language they have, right? In addition to this, yes.
Teacher, I have a question, but in our mind, the vocabulary was not imposed to them, but this is the topic of the class and it is immersed or not.
All right. Yes. If you, during, let's say, the week, you were talking about this vocabulary, cool.
Yes, because in the instructions, we don't mention that they have, they are as a mandatory way to use that.
Okay, show me the instructions.
I cannot read, James, but it is not. We don't write that. The vocabulary is only the.
Yes, guys, you are showing me a lesson plan, and it is a well-developed lesson plan, definitely. But you're not giving me what I asked for. You're supposed to show me what you're giving your students so that they are able to do their task. Right? That is what I want. I want the piece of paper, I want the PDF, I want the Word document in which you explain them what they have to do and you give them the context so that they understand where they are, what they have to do, and what is what you require from them. Because yes, the final product of this task is to give you the comic strip, right? But with what purpose? What is the problem? What is the communication problem your students are going to solve with this?
Christian, I'm sorry, I cannot raise my hand. So you need the worksheet. Is that what you mean? The worksheet with the instructions.
Yes, I am going to need let's call it worksheet, yes, with instructions. Right?
All right.
So remember the PDF I showed you yesterday, right? It had the letter and it had the instructions. That's what I want. This is a very good lesson plan, definitely. Yes, but I need to see the material you're going to give your students. Right? Because yesterday I didn't show you a lesson plan. I showed you what they have to do. And that's what I need. Right? Now, Group number 1, what is the communication problem your students are going to solve?
They have to create a dialogue.
Why?
They are
We
in a
expect
foreign city.
Evelyn?
I'm sorry, Vivi. They are in a foreign city. That's why they have to use different language with the villain. That's why we expect they use this idiomatic expression.
All right, so that is what I need. I need you to give your students the context so that they start working on this. Uh, but again, maybe I am a little bit slow today, but I'm not getting the whole idea of your task, right? Because they're developing a comic strip, yes, and they are also developing a dialogue. So which one is the outcome of your task? The dialogue or the comic strip?
the dialogue, it's supposed.
Yeah. So what is the purpose of the comic strip?
It can help them as a visual aid.
Okay, so it is going to help them as visual aids for their dialogue. And the dialogue comes, how does the dialogue arrive to you, the teacher?
For example, James show us the model, and that is the
Yes.
example. In this, we don't have the worksheet, physics worksheet, but we have online because
No,
we're
no,
using them.
yes, yes, I see, I saw the comic strip, but how can I
Sorry,
express
teacher.
myself?
I'm confused.
Right.
Sorry.
All right. The thing is that you give them a task, and this task is supposed to solve a communication problem. As far as I'm understanding, the communication problem you have is that you are the student. You, the student, are a superhero, and I, the villain, attack the city. Yes? Now, what is the student going to do to solve me attacking the city?
Kind of negotiation.
Okay, negotiating. Perfect. I
Yes.
like that. So, give them the instructions so that they negotiate. Yes, have them develop a plan so they negotiate with this monster.
Okay.
Yes, that's it. Christians, the monster, your students are supposed to negotiate with this monster to save the city or to save the damsel in distress. Right? That is what I need.
Okay.
Give them that context. All right. Okay, fix this and then upload your PDF. Group number 2.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are the group number 2, Raúl, Ramiro, Darlene, and Valentina. Here we have our task. Okay. Our task is go back in time when you were in lockdown and couldn't leave home. It is a sunny day and your grandma's birthday. You had a meeting with your family in order to prepare an online party. All the members of the family had to prepare a card or short presentation expressing their wishes to present it and surprise their grandma. Do not forget to record the party celebration.
All right, pause for a second. Can we go back to your... All right, let me grasp this. Go back in time when you were in lockdown and couldn't leave home. It's a sunny day and your grandma's birthday. You had a meeting with your family in order to prepare an online party. All the members of the family have to prepare a card or short presentation expressing their wishes. Da, 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 da. Okay, the problem is it's grandma's birthday and you have to do something to show her you care for her birthday.
Exactly.
That is the problem. Perfect. Don't forget to record the party presentation. And what is the product the teacher is going to receive?
Students are going to use the language, writing or speaking.
No. The product, Darlene. The product they're going to receive.
The product is a video, the video
Perfect.
of the role play. Could be
And
a
the
role
card.
play recorded and the cards.
Perfect. Okay, got it. Continue.
Okay, now we have the pre-task phase. It's planified for 10 minutes. It's like the warm-up. Students make a brainstorm based on their positive experiences during the quarantine because of the pandemic. And number 2, working groups and discuss the funniest moment during the lockdown and talk about how they celebrated birthdays in this situation.
Okay, and the task phase, they have the teacher have to explain the problem with an example, with the photo and with the problem for making the birthday. And the teacher give the situation and explain the activity. Next, the students are going to work in groups. The 4 or 5 members, they will in groups prepare the role play and record, like the one person is the grandmother and the others are celebrating and giving the cards during a Zoom or a virtual party. They had to celebrate the birthday during the pandemic, and they had to establish the characters in order to perform the activity and prepare a written present for their grandma. So they have to write a letter or a gift. And then they had to post the video in the academic forum. Once they have finished this, we can continue with the post task.
Okay, in the post task, we are going to establish the difference between normal and online celebrations. Coming in the forum, how they feel about performing this activity. This is going to be 30 or 40 words. Then if the task is not well done, we have a complementary activity. They have to create a comic about this experience. They have to use short words or phrases about actions and things that happened during the birthday party celebrations. It's gonna be 4 or 6 slides.
All right, thank you very much. Can we go to the task phase, please, for a second? Okay, students will prepare a role play and record it. I love this idea, but did you mention this in the task?
Yes, and
show me the task, please.
Don't forget to record.
To record what?
The party celebration.
The party celebration.
All right, so, okay, I like your activity. There's only one little miscommunication aspect here, because you mentioned the role play, and I love the idea of the role play, but in the task, you're not telling me anything about a role play. Yes, so mention the role play in the task. So you're going to prepare a role play for your grandma, and you're going to record it.
Okay.
Yes, that is the only thing I would change there.
Okay, and here, how could we propose that? Because we thought that mentioned that all the members of the family, they can choose the member that they would like to be. For that, we didn't put like you had to choose one of the members of the family. And
okay, if that is your plan, you should mention that in the instructions. Yes, you're going to choose if you're Tío Pepito or Tía Juliana. You just tell them, right? So you're telling them to prepare a role play for the party, and they're going to perform the role play during their party, and then record it as well, right? Because in my mind, your whole class is one big family, right? So, and they are all doing the same thing for the same grandma. So there's different sides of the family and stuff, right? So they should choose. All right. I like this, right? Not very complicated. It looks like a solid plan, and it is not very complicated, right? Yeah. Let's move on, please.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. You can start.
Okay, so first, this is our like the lesson plan, like it's like the structure, and before all of this is the task. Here is the task. So the task, this is the instructions for the students. So imagine that one of you, friends of you, has the desire to work within the United States. Yet you do not speak English as a former student. One of you is going to be a former student of English language, and you are going to often to help your friend or the other one to find the best option actually to learn English quickly and effectively. So you will look for different English presence in Quito, for example, the methodology for each one, the cost, and also the certifications offered. For example, Cambridge, Wall Street English, American English, etc. You will also look. You will also look for English. Okay, so you will also look for our online schools or online options like EF English. Which one is the other one? Open English and all that kind of online schools, and of course private tutors. The same as before. Look up for methodology and of course the costs to present the final results and the decision of the best way to learn English. The students will record a video in English with a conversation and the results of the research. Will state the best solution to learn English before going to work in the United States. Carlita.
Okay, well, this is the worksheet that we will present to students where they have the instructions. Here we are giving some options that they can use in order to brainstorm the ideas for their friend. And here you can see that they have the space to write the ideas for the video. And when they are ready, they have here the instructions where to upload the video. It could be in Zoom, YouTube, and then they should upload it to the school's platform to share it in the class. Well,
Right,
here,
just one quick. Please continue. After you finish, I will ask my questions.
I was about to explain the phases. Is that necessary?
Yes, cool.
Okay, sure. So, well, in the pre-task, we are giving the students the instructions and the worksheet, and there we have to tell them that they have to imagine the situation, and they must resolve the lack of English of one of the students that is in the group because of their interest of working in the United States. Then in pairs, they have to look for activities, options, methods. Well, these are kind of the instructions. During the task phase, students are working in pairs, brainstorm, discuss the best option. If there is a group that has finished earlier the task, we can tell them to brainstorm also advantages and disadvantages over the best options that have been chosen. During the task phase, the teacher is going to monitor the activity in case the students have any doubt or question. And as a post phase, as a post phase, we have, well, the students might repeat the task in case their friend could not decide the best way to learn English. Also, we can point out the mistakes and the slips they need to create a blooper video with them. Then the students will also talk about their performance, and we will include some questions. So how accurate were your options? Is your friend going to apply to your suggestions? Were you fluent enough? Do you need more practice? And then we will reflect on grammar. For that, we are going to ask them to watch a tutorial video about future tenses, since that is the intention of doing this activity. Well, this task, and that's it.
Can you scroll up a little bit, please? Okay, there. Okay, the video is going to be include the conversation about the possibilities you researched. Correct?
Yes, the possibilities and the best choice that they chose for the friend.
Very well.
We gave them some options so they can talk to them. The communication problem here would be like the difference of opinion. One of them has no idea about English, but he got the opportunity. The other one is kind of trained in the language, so they have to discuss, they have to deal with it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, this is very clear. Can you scroll down a bit for the worksheet, please? Okay, scroll down, general in Zoom, one-to-one English. Okay, these are some options that you're providing, right? For them to discuss, like a warm-up thing, correct?
Yes, so they can have an idea on what to look for.
Okay, very well. Yeah, let's go to the faces, please. Okay, so all that worksheet is going to help you as a pre-task phase. Am I right?
Yes, and then the product is the video.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, now I need you to go through your faces and make sure you are not repeating or overlapping things, because I can see brainstorming in the 3 phases, right? Okay, just make sure that your faces are distinctly separate. Yes, so for the pre-task, you're brainstorming, that is perfect. The task phase is just going to be them working on their discussion, doing their research, right? Because that's what they're doing in the task phase. Researching, discussing, making the video. And of course, you walking around from group to group, helping out. That is the task phase. Yes, all the brainstorming is done after. During the task phase, you might encounter a couple of difficulties or a group that is working too fast. Then you can add a complication, right? But in the task phase, just that, make sure that your faces are not repeating themselves here and there, and that will be it, right? So video, yes, I like that. Once again, nothing too complicated, but it works as a solid task. Thank you very much. Let's move on, please.
Okay, good evening. I'm sorry, something's going on with my computer. I keep logging off out of Zoom and I was talking by myself.
All right, take it easy.
Okay. Okay, now. So our creative task is the following. You and your fiance are planning your honeymoon. You're both trying to backpack through Southeast Asia, visit different countries and the most important tourist attractions in just 3 weeks. Your travel savings are $5,000 for all expenses. I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on.
We didn't lose you.
I can share if that's gonna be easier.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, give me 1 second. This okay, everyone's looking at it, right?
Okay, so here, the couple, they have to come up with a travel plan and it has to include the following. year, packing, cities that will visit, tourist attractions, and why they wish to visit those cities. The budget that can include transportation, accommodation, food entrance to different tourist attractions, and adventurous activities. You can use the following internet blogs to look for information regarding your trip and come up with your travel plan. You can also look up information from other internet sites if needed. So there, the two blogs mentioned are listed. And then it says, once you have both have come up with a travel plan, you will need to present it to the class. Then we will discuss which group came up with the best travel plan, taking all the objectives into consideration. So that is the task, the information that we presented to the students. And then in the pre-test phase, it will be divided into different parts, but it will take 20 minutes. The first one is to provide the model. So this would take 5 minutes in which we will have a brief discussion of asking students what would their ideal honeymoon destination be and why. And then the teacher will also give examples, like the teacher will give his or her ideal destination and the objectives that should be analyzed when deciding that destination, so they can have a clue, an idea of what should be included. And then we'll follow up with an instruction, which is 5 minutes. And it pretty much the teacher's going to say, get in pairs, look up information from travel blogs, start constructing your travel plan, and present your travel plan to the class. And then in those 5 minutes, we're also going to leave some time for questions and answers to clarify instructions if needed. And then we're also going to give 5 minutes for the students to review vocabulary and grammar from their book, but they can look up the information. The teacher is not going to mention what type of grammar is going to be used. And also vocabulary such as how to book a hotel room, check in, check out, make reservations, and so forth. That was obviously previous thought throughout the unit. And then they're going to have 5 minutes so they can come up with ideas. So here they're going to look like for vocabulary, and also they're going to start looking, reading at the blogs that were suggested by the teacher. And in the task phase, it will be 15 minutes. So here the students will prepare their travel plan, and the teacher will also provide linguistic feedback if necessary. And here we analyze verb usage, grammar, vocabulary, and other aspects such as organization, originality, and so forth. And then the post task is that the students will then choose after the presentation, they would choose the best travel plan presented, and they will have a homework where they will repeat the task, but here they would choose their destination of preference with the same objectives.
All right. Okay. And on this, they will repeat the task, but about their favorite honeymoon destination.
Yeah.
Not Southeast Asia.
The place.
Okay, perfect. Can we scroll up again, please? Create a task. Oh, so all of this is what your students are going to receive until that. Perfect. I like this. I have nothing to add here. Let's scroll down a bit. Of course, this pre-task phase happens, and this is for everybody, right? The pre-task phase happens actually before you give them the material, right? So you start warming up, and notice that the pre-task phase is not a warm-up. It is a series of activities that will lead your students towards your objective, right? So yes, discussing honeymoon destinations, very good. Then you give the instructions. When you're giving them the instructions, then you hand in the material, right? Just make sure that. Review vocabulary. This, review vocabulary, grammar. Is this absolutely necessary for the pre-task phase? Because you mentioned that you have covered all of this in the unit. So are we sure we want to do that? Is it absolutely necessary?
I don't think it should be like absolutely necessary, but it would be like to refresh like some knowledge, like to go back into the book and be like, I remember this, like we can use this expression or something, like just to. stir their minds a little bit.
Like key terms and stuff, that terminology, all that.
All right. Probably you can use the discussion about the honeymoon destinations just to
do that.
Suggest a couple of things,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
But I would not really recommend explicitly teaching or explaining this again, right?
No, I mean, the idea wasn't for the teacher to explain, but to give them time to look over their textbook and to look for vocabulary and maybe grammar structures that they can implement in the travel plan. Like Capaco said, like refreshing.
All right. Okay, fair enough. Template plan, task phase, can we scroll down again? You choose. Okay, and then in the post-task phase, you might want to check for error analysis and corrections and stuff, right?
But we can't do that in the task phase.
No,
whenever we provide feedback.
That, yes. Okay, when you're providing feedback, you are not explaining again the grammar and vocabulary. You're just helping your students correct some mistakes. Okay, you don't say this, you say it this way. And then very briefly explain something, but very, very briefly. If you want to exploit the language, grammatical, vocabulary aspects of this, you should do it in the post-task phase. Then you can explain widely and as deeply as you need.
Okay.
Right? Okay. Really nice job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's please move on.
Okay, good afternoon, good evening, almost good evening. Okay, well, we are group number 5, and the members of our group are Enrique, Edwin, and me. So this is our task. Well, what we are going to do, in the first part, we have to create the task. So we are going, first of all, we decided the topic, and the general topic for our task gonna be based or focus on traditional dish from your country. Okay, that is the main topic. And the task is make a recipe document. And this is gonna be focused for pre-intermediate students. So we are going to elaborate these worksheets with instructions. So the task says, imagine that you and 3 friends work for a typical food blog online. You have to teach people online how to cook a traditional dish from your country. So choose a traditional dish from your country, write down the ingredients, then write down the steps to prepare the dish and upload to your recipe blog. So that is gonna be the task itself. So this is what we are going to provide the students. And in the next part, we are gonna find the pre-task phase. So first of all, we are going to give the students the instructions. So here we have the different instructions students need to know before doing this task. For example, we have imagine you work for a typical food blog online. You have to publish a traditional dish from your country. You have to choose a traditional dish from your country, write down the ingredients, write down the steps to prepare the dish, and upload your recipe to the blog. So in this phase, we are going to provide the students a model. So here, this is just a model. And we chose typical recipe for Ecuador, like the encebollado. And we wrote the set of ingredients. Yep, we have the set of ingredients. And we have the instructions. Okay, so this is what we are going to provide and so as a model. Yeah, the same in the pre-phase. We are going to have a couple of questions only to warm up students' attention to what they are going to do and ask the students for clarification. So we are going to have the chance to review the vocabulary like vegetables, food vocabulary related to food like vegetables, verbs for cooking. Yeah, so kitchen vocabulary, that's gonna be before they perform the activity, the task. And we are going to do it through a brainstorm activity, with the same vocabulary. We are going to provide students to plan, okay? So they will have some minutes to plan, okay? So we are going to focus on form, how to give instructions. That's gonna be imperatives. Okay, after that, we have the task phase. Here, the students are going to perform the task and the teacher is going to monitor, so giving feedback while students are working. So they will have a time of 20 minutes or so, okay? So if there are students with special needs, so they are going to have kind of accommodation to the task, okay? And finally, we have the post-task phase. So in this part, it says repeat the task. Yeah, we are going to ask the students to repeat the task, but with a different dish only as a homework, but not at that moment because of the time, but as a homework, yes. The students, after working, they are going to make a kind of presentation explaining the process of the recipe they wrote in the group. And also the students are going to reflect about the performance of this task, when answering questions like, why did you choose your dish? How easy it was to do this dish or to make this dish? What was the most difficult part to do this, to make this dish? Okay, so here the teacher is going to be aware on fluency, accuracy, and ways to improve. Okay, this kind of. Okay, and finally we have focus on form, accurate pronunciation from the topic. So this is what we have done.
Let's pull it up, please. All right. Okay, I have the task ideally clear. So you have to post, let's see, a recipe in a food blog.
Right.
That is a task in general, correct?
Right.
Yes. What is the communication problem you're trying to solve here?
Okay.
We want them to learn how to give instructions.
Right.
No, yes. Instructions are the language issue you're going to attack, let's say. And that is perfectly clear with the recipe. But what is the communication problem your task aims to solve?
I think it's this, that they have to teach. You have to teach people online how to cook a traditional dish. I don't know if.
Yes, why?
Okay.
Perhaps to let them know, all the students, that they don't know the teachers from their countries, so they want to display the teachers from their own country.
All right, so give me more context. Yes.
Okay.
Give me more context. You have to make this interesting for your students, and the context makes it interesting. So yes, you are the students living here in Quito? They are living somewhere in the world. Where are they? Why are they working for a food blog? Why? Right? Give them this.
Okay.
So can it be something like they are going to participate in a context like Master Chef or something like that?
Yes, that is also a problem to solve, right? Because remember, in Master Chef, the first elimination round is participants send a video, right? So maybe have them post not only the recipe, the ingredients and instructions, but the video.
So it's
but
like
a super condensed video of, let's say, 2-3 minutes.
All right, so
right,
they can like use this to enter a contest. Like
yes,
Master
that
Chef.
is another
All
possibility.
right.
And that makes it more interesting. That you work for a typical food blog online. Why? Why am I working here? Yes, give them reason.
Okay.
All right. There. Can you scroll down a bit? Okay, pause.
The best reason is that if they don't do it, they will fail. That's wrong,
remember
right?
that we've already talked about motivation.
Okay.
So yes, in the end, and I know that because I have a teenager in my house, and when she speaks about the justification for her final project, she says, because I don't want to hear from my teacher ever again. That is her justification for her final project. So yes, in the end, it is still extrinsic motivation, but it is our task to make it look as intrinsic as possible, right? And if you give them something non-traditional, as making a video for a contest or making it an actual contest, they will be a bit more motivated.
All right.
Right?
Right.
I get it.
There. Okay, the pre-task does not usually have the instructions, right? The instructions are in the task. Yes, the pre-task is going to help them, let's say, refresh the language they're going to use, is going to help them get some ideas, right? Because you officially give them, you do the pre-task phase, then you give them the task, right? So all your pre-task serves like a warm-up to your task, all right? This is for everybody, of course, not just for you. I'm just exploiting your paper here. Is this clear?
So all these instructions and this model, they are part of the task.
No. The model can work as a pre-task, definitely, but even before the model, you should have them do something else.
So instead of instructions, we should put their warm-up, something like that.
Something like a warm-up, not necessarily a warm-up, but something that will lead them to start thinking about it. Right? Showing them a video of MasterChef or something, showing them something. Give them something to start thinking about the topic. Right? And maybe also it is a video, so why did they decide to choose this dish? Right? They will be recording themselves explaining reasons, explaining the recipe, explaining the experience, right? All of that. And you're using, notice this, you're using one recipe to have them produce tones of language, right?
Right.
That is the point. Have them produce lots and lots of language with one recipe, right?
Amazing.
Can we go to the bottom, please? Okay, this brainstorm is definitely part of the pre-task phase, definitely. Review and vocabulary, but every review of language issues should be coincidental, right? Not official, right? Just remember this. Everything should be like inferred, because the task is supposed to happen with the knowledge they have, not influenced.
So we should maybe have a short conversation saying like, what do you normally buy for to cook something in your house, something like that?
Yes, this kind of conversation will have your students talking about ingredients, for example, right? Without you reminding them, okay, let's check ingredients for food, right? So, because having this conversation is a bit more fun than just you, teacher, giving them a list.
Right.
Right. Teacher monitors, perfect. Linguistic feedback per group, just making sure that language is happening adequately. Post task with a different dish.
All right.
All right, there. Nice. So just let's try to make students focus on what they're going to do, right? Something that calls their attention. Everything has to be relevant for them, right? Everything has a reason. Why am I doing this? And it is the reason should not be because I don't want to fail, right? Okay. Are we still missing one group, I guess? Yes.
Christian, I tried to upload the plan, but it's blocked because it's with another date.
Your teacher, guys, your teacher. Give me a second. I'm gonna fix that.
Thank you.
Melita.
All right. Shall we?
No, sorry. So I don't know what is going on with my friend, my friend's microphone.
We are waiting that the
Yeah.
teacher.
Okay.
No, please go ahead. I already changed the dates for the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So hi, we are group number 6. We are Marlon, Jefferson, Marisol, and me. The level is A2 pre-intermediate. The objectives are choose food and drinks for a birthday party, use their prior vocabulary in context, and distinguish between countable and uncountable nouns.
Okay, so in this part, we have this one. We have this worksheet for the students, but it is a menu for a big party. So the students need to plan a birthday party for 10 friends, and they have to make a list by choosing the food and drinks that they would like to have in the party. But they have to keep in mind that they only have $30. So they need to remember to use all the budget, and each price is per person according to the menu. So then they have to discuss why they choose those items from the menu.
Okay, so as pre-task, we have a brainstorming where teachers and students are going to have a discussion. They are going to answer when is your birthday, what presents would you like for your birthday, and what do you like to eat and drink at birthday parties. The wild task. This task will be developed in group work, so students are going to have these worksheets. As you can saw it, there are the pictures, the name, and the prices. So they have to choose what they wanted. As it was mentioned, they only have $30. to prepare this party for 10 friends. Students do the task while the teacher is monitoring by listening and answering the questions. Then we are going to have a switch group where each group tells the other groups what decision they have made and why they have made.
Okay, then we have the post task, and then we create a little discussion in this part where the students they need to reflect on what was the most difficult to do in the task. So for example, if the most difficult was the limited budget, what was the decision-making process? We have limited options in the menu. So also they need to be aware of about fluency at the moment when they interact in the different groups, when they are explaining the different choices that they had. And this part also student ask questions to the teacher in order to correct some mistakes. Also students talk about the difference between countable and uncountable nouns that we talked about previously in the objective. And at the end, students need to write 5 sentences using the new vocabulary according to the worksheet that they saw before. So this is it.
All right. In the task phase, can you please explain the purpose of switch groups?
Because we want that they interact with their friends and use a little bit more the vocabulary. Then, so they are going to compare what other groups decided and why they decide that, or the similarities they have by choosing the same food or drinks.
Okay, so the groups are not going to present for the whole class. They are going to present the plan just to the teacher and exchange it with one more group. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
clear. Can you show me the worksheet, please? Okay, menu for a big party. You have party for a friend. 10 friends.
Yeah, just 10 friends.
Okay, just out of semantics. You say menu for a big party and you have 10 friends. I myself don't go to parties, so I don't know what a big party is. I'm just
because of
the pandemic, you know, so we don't have a lot.
All right. For pandemic standards, yes, 10 is a lot of people in your house. Fair enough.
Sure.
Yeah, because my parties are usually 5 people. That's it. That's how fun I am.
You're not kind of social, you know. So.
Yeah. Make a list by choosing the food and drinks you would like, keeping it within $30. Remember to use all the budget, and each price is per person. Discuss why you chose items from the menu. So you're only giving them this menu. That's it. They have to choose anything from here.
They have this menu. Yeah. This is the menu.
Okay. Why?
Because this is what they have to resolve. They have just this part. They can add more things to the party.
They can't.
They can't. So, for example, we were talking that, for example, maybe when they switch the groups, maybe they can notice that in the other group there is a person who don't like, for example, candy or a cake. So, what they need to do when you have a friend that maybe is vegetarian?
Weird.
So that's the problem that they need to resolve. And
okay.
That's the purpose that they switch the group.
Okay, I understand your point. Can you scroll down? Let me see the menu, please. Drinks, hot dogs. So, all right, drinks is $1.50 per person, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, and the cake is $18 per person, or the whole cake?
It's the whole cake.
Whole cake.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I see your point. You're trying to limit the options. That sounds smart as well. I would have them research, but this is a very good idea, actually. All right. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, a couple of things. Before you post, make sure the language you're using is adequate. So grammar, spelling, all these things, right? Because you're showing this to your students in the end, and you should be showing off your language skills and not letting them catch you red-handed, right? This is the idea of this task clear? All right.
Yes.
Very well. Okay, nice job. It was really nice seeing your task. You're very creative and imaginative, and I like that. I have Isolina and Marcelo with hands up. Isolina, please.
I'm having trouble uploading groups for a lesson plan because it says that group 3's lesson plan is already uploaded. And I only have the option to edit to submit and to delete.
All right. And you are group?
4.
And we're speaking about this task, right?
Yeah, and I have the group 3's lesson plan already uploaded.
Oh, dear Lord. All right. Let me see what I did this time. And of course, my computer is acting out. And not responding. Okay, Emilia, you were working with
With this Gilma, Miguel, and Carla. Arroba.
This is why. Okay, I'm gonna have to fix the groups because it seems I made a mistake over there. So I will, let's take the recess now. Let's say our 10, 12
We
minutes
also,
recess.
teacher, sorry, we also cannot upload the document.
Yeah, probably it is my mistake in the way I organize the groups. So I'm gonna fix this in the recess. And when we come back from the recess, I will let you know. All right?
Christian, tell me when you fix it, I have to upload it again so I can do it.
Yeah, sure. I will let you know. Okay, let's see. See you in 10.
Yes, we can see the presentation.
Okay.
Okay,
Perfect.
good evening, everyone. We are group 4, and today we're going to focus on 2 skills, which are reading and writing. And can you continue, please?
Right.
Okay, so before I start, I just want to ask you guys a question. What do you think reading is? If you can please give me some ideas on your Zoom chat of what is reading to you. Some ideas, some objectives on the Zoom chat. Okay, get new information, receptive skill, a skill, concentration. Good job. What else? It is an input information, understanding, reading, input activity, skill, comprehension, written language. Okay, good job. Those are really good answers. And yes, you're all correct because pretty much reading is understanding and also comprehending the text. We have some students struggle because they are focused on more on reading the words. And here they're only decoding the written symbols of sounds. Can you continue, please? Okay, so according to the author, she gives us different assumptions, nature of reading assumptions that we as teachers have to validate if they're correct or not. So the first one is we need to decode individual letters in order to read words. So here I'm going to ask a classmate to help me with the first image. If Slilma, can you try to decode or read the first word? The first image.
Damn it, that's like a doctor kind of thing.
Just try.
Goals or something like that, I don't know.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Now, can you try reading the next sentence?
Better life is good for you.
Good job. Yeah. So yeah, I hope life is good for you. So here, obviously, the first word was illegible. It was hard to understand, but once it was integrated with a sentence, with a full sentence, it was easier to understand. So here is, that's why reading and decoding letters should be done particularly at an early stage of reading, because then we have to focus and we have to practice with the students understanding the context, like reading the whole phrase or the whole sentence, and later be even easier for them to to read or to understand the context of any illegible writing. Can you continue, please? Okay, so now we have a next example, a next assumption that says we need to read and understand all the words accurately in order to understand a text. Okay, so I'm gonna ask another classmate to help me. Ramiro, can you help me please reading this this short paragraph, but as quickly as possible? How would you read with your reading by yourself?
The handsome knight mounted his horse and galloped off to save the beautiful princess, on and on over mountains and valleys until his galloping horse was exhausted. At last mountain, where was the dragon?
Okay, good job. So you did a great job reading, because I don't know if you noticed that in the second sentence, a word was changed. Did you notice that? For example, the first sentence says, the handsome knight mounted his horse. And then the second sentence, until his galloping house was exhausted. So here pretty much what they did is something that we commonly do, good readers do, because our idea is not to identify and try to understand each word, but the whole context, so the meaning of the text. So we are always eliminating or changing meaningless words in order to understand. So it's okay, you did a good job reading. Okay, continue. The third one says, if we understand all the words in a text, we will understand the text. So I want everyone to try to read silently, obviously without turning on your microphone, the small sentence. Without turning on the microphone. Okay, so did anyone understand what the sentence is trying to say? No one here is a chemist or a physicist? No.
Yeah, they're talking about energy, and they're talking about the units that you are developing when you have a result.
Okay, good job, Ramiro. Yeah, well, for Ramiro it was easier because he had previous knowledge. He knew information about this. But for the rest, we are clueless. We don't know what it actually is trying to say. So here we always have to have, obviously, depending what we want to learn or we want to read, we have to have some previous knowledge of the subject matter in order to be understood. Number 4, it says, the more words there are in a text, the longer it will take to read it. Marlon, can you please help me reading number 1, the first sentence?
Okay. Jam had been called the Tapson tick.
Good job. Okay. Enrique, can you help me reading the second sentence?
How quickly can you read and understand this?
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Marlon, Enrique. So which of the 2 sentences was easier to understand and to read?
Number 2, to understand and to read.
Number 2, obviously. Good job. So here, the first sentence, we are having trouble because the words are disconnected and isolated. So we don't have a comprehension of sense of units of sentences and phrases. And for a lot of readers, it's going to be even a lot more difficult if we include paragraphs or even longer passages that have a disconnection. So it's very important to have to unite or to have to connect what we're trying to say. Like it says, we have to have a coherent link to make a meaningful sentence. Continue, please. Okay, also the author mentions that if it's preferable to read, to have students to read out loud or to read in silence. So here she mentions that it's preferable to read in silence because whenever the teacher or you're asking the whole class to read with you, you're asking the students to read in your own pace. And they are reading word by word, but the idea of actually reading, just like Ramiro did in the second example, was to take away meaningless words or information in order to grasp the context of the text. So it is preferable to have students read silently so they can understand. Continue. Oh, obviously, this doesn't only go with beginner readers. It can also be for advanced learners. Continue now. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is beginning reading phonemic awareness. So, I'm sorry. Phonemic awareness is the ability to identify and to also manipulate individual sounds like phonemes in spoken words. So here, for example, we have, I'm so sorry. Clock. If we're blending the word together, we're trying to say the word clock. Continue, please. Okay, so the author here is giving us some advice of different tasks we can do in order to develop phonemic awareness with the students. And the first one, it says that you have to, I want everyone to participate, okay? And you don't have to turn on your microphone, but you have to raise your hands whenever you hear the following phoneme. So here we have the picture. I don't know if you guys know that this sound on the bottom also the letters. What is it, Marlon?
In the word thank you.
Okay, it's in the word thank you. So the sound is actually, okay? Yeah. So I'm gonna say a series of sounds and you guys are gonna have to raise your hand. It can be left or right hand, whichever. If whenever you hear that sound, okay? Are you ready? So it is the, b, I didn't see anyone participate.
Bless you.
I was doing it.
Okay. Well, the first four classmates were just looking at me clueless. Okay, we're gonna do this again. You're gonna raise your hand whenever you hear the sound. Okay.
Our hands or
raise your hands, raise your arm.
With your hands.
Any arm, right or left. Okay, you just have to raise it whenever you hear the sound, okay? Okay, so it is the, b, ch, sh, the, t. Good job. Okay, you guys did a pretty well job. Okay, so the second one is listen to the series of phonemes and jump whenever you hear the odd one out. So now you guys are gonna have to stand up. If you're wearing pajamas or no pants, I'm sorry, you have to stand up. And you are going to jump whenever you hear in different sounds. So we're gonna have the same sound repeated and then we're gonna change with other sounds. So whenever you hear a different sound, you have to jump. Okay, so we have James that is standing up. No one else? Okay, Carlita, Ramiro, good job. Okay, so are you ready? Thank you, Enrique. It is the, okay, good job, sit down. Okay, so that was the second exercise. Now the third one is identify the words that rhyme with the word, for example, patch. So you give them students a word and then they have to hear out the word and identify which sounds the same. So you can say patch, A, cash, or B, catch. So they obviously going to say catch. The fourth one is identify if the sound goes at the beginning, middle, or end of the word. So here you would choose a phoneme and also Obviously, first practice with the students the phoneme, and you can say, depending on the level, short or larger words, and have them identify when to hear the sound, beginning, middle, or end. Number 5 is you have to add an extra sound to a word and have students identify it. So you, for example, you have the word sand and you have stand. So they have to identify that the extra sound would be st, okay? The next one, number 6, is count the sounds in a simple word. So here it's depend how you work with your students, but you can say, for example, cat. So they can say k at 3, or they can say k at 2, however you work with your students. And number 7, you also say the component sound of a word and then challenge them to put together the word. So you say k at, and then they have to obviously say the sound, which is cat. Continue, please. Okay, so now we're going to continue with some guidelines that your proposes. They're beginning reading principles. I'm sorry, principles. Keep going, please. Okay, so here, the first one is to acquire basic knowledge of the language. So it's really important to first focus with students vocabulary and also chunks of language before actually start probably with reading, because I guess it makes it quicker with the students to learn. And in number 2, it says beginning with the most common and useful sounds. So here, obviously, you can start with your students with vowels. It could be long or short vowels and the most common consonants, even digraphs, trigraphs, quadrigraphs, any kind of sounds that you can start working with your students. And also you can use common words, because usually in a text we have repeated words. So you can, for example, practice them by memorizing probably the, she, he, we, and so on. So they can read quicker. And then keep going, please. The third one is that depending on the level of your students, if they're beginner, it is preferable to work with letter sounds with the students. And once they dominate the letter sound, you can introduce letter names. But with adults, you can introduce both, but obviously, teach them progressively so they don't get confused. So the overall conclusion of this is that obviously we have to work on decoding and also teaching new letters in the preliminary stage, because the idea is to have students to read and understand the English that is required through later reading activities. So here the students have the opportunity to gauge repeatedly in order to continue with written text. So thank you.
Okay, we're going to start with reading tasks that we can do with our students. So in order for a student to have fluency, and it's a lot of practice, right? In early stages, like what do they need? Like short and simple text. And the instructions mainly will be given in the first language, in the native language for them, because they're learning, right? So we're going to check some of the tasks that we can do. So the first one, letters and words. So this is a very good one when students are acquiring this new alphabet, this new language system, right? So students have very limited letters here. So as examples that we have here, which letter begins which word? Match the letters to the picture. So the first one, they know is a house, but then they can identify small caps and capitals and small caps, right? The second one, elephant, right? So they can keep identifying. This is pretty simple because at that moment, most likely you will be working with a course book, but you will need to create your own worksheets and extra supplies for your students. So according to the topics that you're reviewing, you can easily create like examples like this one, right? So the second one will be like under each of these images, there are letters. Cross out the letters that you can hear when you say the word. So then you have the students like participating, like, what is this? Foot. Which are the ones that they're going to cross out. So they're like acquiring the alphabet and they're already putting like into linking with images and words. So like they're creating concepts in their heads, right? So cognates, right? And these are quite important because like it would expand their vocabulary. There are words that are alike, similar or roughly similar, right? So can you translate these words into your own language? In Spanish would be easier, like pasta, television, dragon, and video, right? Pasta, televisión, dragón, video. Same word, same writing. So the main goal here is just to expand vocabulary. Write out the names of the countries in your language and perhaps find them on the map, right? England, Brazil, Canada, Japan, India, Poland. Again, this kind of material could be like developed according to the topics that you're teaching or the coursework, right? Pretty simple. Limited letters so they can get so they can start learning, getting the knowledge inside of their heads. Same thing with names. Are these names of boys or girls like Maria, Peter, David, Sarah, and Anna? So working with cognates. So working with English words, identify the words and do something with them. So the main focus of this kind of activities will be show comprehension. So copy these words in the order of size of the object. The biggest first. Again, a bag, a tree, a mouse. So then the student has to identify like what is a tree? What is the concept of a tree? It's like it's small, it's big. Which one is bigger? A tree of a mouse, like. Remember, these activities are for students where they're studying, beginners. So which words go together? Draw the line between the words and connect them, right? Table, which will be the one who connects. Man, no. Woman, no. Hand, no. Foot, no. And down, no. Chair, table and chair. Up and down, foot and hand, man and woman. Simple concepts. Circle the words that are the names of animals. Again, head, dog, table, pencil, cow, horse. So identify them. Which is the odd one, right? Run, walk, sit, and jump. Simple activities for them. Identifying just like words in English to show comprehension. And the last step of this would be like phrases and short sentences. So they understand a sense of unit. They start like understanding like not only word by word, but like the unit of what they want, right? And also like this will be the last step for these students to start reading like a full text, right? So examples like draw a red bottle. So now they have to create the concept, associate with the knowledge that they know, the word knowledge, with the target language, right? Another one, I copy out the sentences that are relevant in the picture. What are they doing here? So they have to find out, like, there's a table here. Of course, there is one, right? Are they under the tree? We don't know. There's no tree. There's not indications of tree. So they wouldn't copy that one. They are not happy. They seem to, right? And write what is in, try to guess, right? Write what this is, right? It is in Australia, it's big, and it can jump. Which animal is that one? Can anyone help me with here?
Kangaroo.
Perfect, thank you, man. So remember, these are like simple things that you can create according to your coursework, right? So before moving to the next topic, that was like fluent reading, can someone tell me what was like cognate? Cognate words.
Sorry, can you say that again, please?
Cognate.
They are words are alike.
Yes. Okay. Yes, words that are alike, very similar or roughly similar, right? So now, with the first section, we taught our students like how to get involved with the language, identify it, and start creating concepts. But this is reading. What do we want with them? Like to be fluent. So students to be, what do they need to become fluent? Access, what do they need? Like to access the meaning of a text successfully and rapidly, right? That will be the main focus there. What do they need to do that? A large amount of vocabulary. With no vocabulary, this cannot be done. And as a teachers, we can help them and supply it with a wide range of text according to their level, right? Right, now we're gonna check the characteristics of a fluent reading and also the implications of teaching that, right? Language. The text should be comprehensible for the level. So as a teacher, you need to find the proper textbooks and articles for them. They should be able to understand the 95 to the 98% of the words, so the reading could be fluent and they can understand the text, or it otherwise could cause frustration in them. The content, again, they have to be familiar with it or like word information that they already know. In case that they don't know a topic that you want to teach in class, the teacher can assign pre-readings or supply them with readings according for the topic. Send them to make a search on the internet. Nowadays will be like a little bit easier. And also the teacher should provide like the proper input for them, so they have proper content. Speed. Speed is kind of debatable if we can teach or not, but we can help them practicing, because the speed, like each individual will acquire different speeds. So a key activity here is like for the teach students to read like a sentence units, to read by chunks and not word by word. Most of the time when students are starting this process of learning how to read, they will stop at the first word that they don't know what it means, and they're like, teacher was that, teacher was that, teacher was that. And that's not good. Like try to tell them like to read chunks. So we have selective attention. So we can teach them to scan and skim the text first and find out like key information. If they see in the text that like redundancies and repetition, and they're not like helping to understand the gist of the text, they can just like avoid it. It is not completely necessary for them like to read the entire thing if it's not like apporting to understanding the text. Unknown vocabulary, right? So if the main focus is to teach fluency, this can be counterproductive because they will stop to search, and that's not what we want. It is good to expand their vocabulary, but if the main goal is fluency, this is bad. So what we can tell them to do, to infers, right? What is that? Like to get the meaning or try to understand the meaning of a word according to the context of the text, of the paragraph or the chunk that they're reading, right? That will be best. If not, they can use the dictionary. Dictionary, most of the nowadays, like everyone's using a computer or access a dictionary through their phones, so it's like faster. Again, if that word of that chunk is not helping to understand or is already understood, like what is the meaning of the entire paragraph, they can just ignore it. Prediction, right? We cannot tell someone to predict what they're reading, but we can make them aware of it because like that is something that we naturally do. So if we're interested in doing something and reading something, our brains are already like working on it. It's not like we go completely blank and white. So what we can do to create awareness with them, we can tell them like to read the first, read up until the end of the paragraph or to the end of the page, and then stop and ask like, hey, what do you think is going to happen next? So with the previous information that they have acquired from the paragraph or the text, they can start like predicting. I was like, oh, probably it's going to go this way, probably it's going to go that way, right? And then like they're using their own vocabulary. Also, it's very important motivation to select topics that are like interesting for them. Now it's a little difficult because like if you're working for an institution, they will give you a course book, but you can be like flexible and take some readings, like create your own material and get to know them. Well, you have a relationship with your students, so you know what they like. So try to get some materials for them. And this material should invite curiosity and expand their knowledge, acquire more knowledge. There's no point in reading something that is not provoking curiosity and expanding knowledge, right? The purpose here, if you're trying to create the habit of reading and making them fluent, while reading a story, most of the time the stories are very interesting. There is no necessary task to be done. So if you frame like you're going to read this and then there's a task, you may kill that enjoyment because that's what you want to create. That enjoyment, like students like grabbing books and reading them. So you can set a purpose before like after that they read, like probably mention, okay, what is the key information that you find in your article, in your book, in your text? Could you summarize the main points of this? Or this will be for more advanced students, respond to the writer's point of view. But remember, like they will have a purpose to read. So we're gonna give some advice to the students because like this is like before was the things that the teacher can do to help them. But also like the students should be aware of that if they're not familiar with the topic, they should find something beforehand and get involved with the topic. Again, read chunks, not single words, isolated words, but chunks. There's something quite difficult for a lot of people. Try not to vocalize in your head while you're reading in silence. Sometimes we do that, like especially me, I have a problem with that because I tend to read a lot of comics and a lot of stuff, and I have the characters' voices in my head while I'm reading. So it's quite difficult to get rid of that, right? Focus on vital information. If you're reading something, like you want to get the gist out of it, you can skip parts that are not necessary for understanding. Guess the unknown words if possible. If not, yeah, then use a dictionary. And also be aware of the purpose of your reading. You need to have like some sort of attachment to that. Those are like the things that we can advise to our students. And also there are like 2 strategies that are mentioned. So the 2 strategies, the one stands like KWL, which stands for like known, want to know, and learn. This one is especially really easy to perform during class because like no, in the moment of no, is like what's the student will be going through books, through the titles, and is getting too familiar with what he's going to read. If he's already familiar with it, probably is going to choose it. Want to know, what is it that he thinks he's going to find in this book, in this text, in this article? And then it's going to read it, and then it's going to reflect in what he has learned or she has learned, right? So again, know, want to know, and learn. The second one is Q3R. Survey, question, read, recall, and review. So pay attention to this one. Survey, basically they're really skimming through titles, headings, and illustrations, again, like from books, from the text and everything. And questions will arise from that information. So while having those questions in their head, like they can start reading thoroughly through the text. So they go to more in detail. Once they have written in detail, what they have to do is like recall to see if they can remember key points or key information of the reading. And review, they will have to reread it to get like more information and settle in their heads. Good. And we're gonna go to the last topic. Before I advance this one, can someone tell me what the 3 R's in SQ3R stands for? No one? Christian,
no.
could you choose one student?
Okay, a victim.
Yes.
All right, let's say, Raul, give me a number.
16.
Oh, 6 and 1, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Marcelo.
Marcelo, can you recall what in SQ3R, what the 3 R's stand for? I'm just gonna put it in the text.
Okay. Not sure, not sure.
Okay, James, you have your hand up.
Okay, read, recall, and review.
Perfect. Thank you, man. Sorry?
I have silent sustained reading.
Yeah, but this is SSR.
Okay.
And I'm
Paco
asking,
was
like,
reviewing the previous.
I was checking this one, right? So now that we have gone like through the beginning, like beginning stage, how to teach them how to read, how to achieve fluency, and now we're gonna go to the bigger context that will be like extensive reading. So extensive reading, what is it? It's an individual silent reading. It's also known as reading for pleasure or sustained silent reading. So this one is especially like long and it has to be interesting stories or books for the students. So principles that we have to consider to achieve this. The students need access to a large variety of reading material. So as teachers, we can supply them or help them or guide them to or point out where they can find certain material. Each student can choose the reading material. The teacher just advises. So students can swap books. That is not necessarily bad. If they find them boring or difficult, a student can be like, sorry, man, like I need another book. I get bored. I get bored with this one. I need something else, right? And that's perfectly okay. Reading for enjoyment, sorry, and not for a task, as they do it in their first language, in their native language, right? When you're doing like for pleasure, yeah, you choose what you want and you have fun with it. It's not like I'm gonna read this book and then I'm gonna as a homework. Like usually when you do that, like you get kind of like down, you don't really want to do it. So the teacher should encourage to read and swap books, help them choose, and also the teacher should be a role model, right? We are the ones who are in front of them. They're going to be looking at us, so we set the example. So in institutions, most of the time we have like 3 problems. First one, time. Why time? Because like the main focus of the syllabus will be like the course book and the exam, and allocating time for like extensive reading could be considered a waste of time, right? Money. Most of the institutions don't have enough money to sustain a library or to implement one, right? Or to have enough reading material for the students from where to choose. So that's a big problem. Nowadays, we have access to internet, and all of these educations is done through online, right? So we can tell them like where to go. We can suggest like websites. And monitoring. In extensive readings, it's going to be difficult to monitor them because you don't know if they're actually doing it or just waiting. So one thing that could be advisable could be like at the end of the period of like extensive reading, ask them like a small presentation or like a small summary of the things that they have read. And also like you can tell them like to develop probably a poster and advertise the story, the book that they were reading. But again, these will take time out of the reading time. So be aware of that. So practical tips. Try to schedule time for extensive reading at the beginning of the lesson and probably in the middle of the week. Try not to send it as a homework because probably they're not going to do it. They're just going to just go fast through it. And it's not going to help them develop the habit and the enjoyment that we want. Read yourself, be an example for them. And bring books to the class. Like as a teacher, okay, nowadays it's gonna be difficult because we're not in the same physical space. So they cannot have, you cannot bring books to the class or to help them in exchange with the students. But again, we can point them out like where to find them on the internet. Or we can have our own like PDF like library and assign them. And have reserved reading materials. Okay, this is not gonna happen like in nowadays situations because like a student forget bringing their own books. Yeah, everyone's at their home, they have their own material. So in the case that a student like forgets the book, like you can supply them with another material or tell them like use a computer or cell phone or e-reader and give them like more material to read. So thank you very much.
Okay, so before continuing with the next skill, I would like you to guys complete a survey. I already sent you the link to the chat. So could you please, there's just one question. And I just wanted to know, guys, which skill, English skill you like the most? Paco, can I share my screen, please?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So we're going to wait just some seconds and wait. So we're going to try to see the results of the survey. The question is, what is the English skill you like the most? So as you can see, guys, here we have like the most of teachers here like speaking and some of them like writing. This question, guys, was actually for trying to see if you as teachers like writing skill. So could you please go back to the presentation, Paco?
That's it, right? Everyone's looking at the presentation?
Yeah, thank you. So what is writing? Nowadays, teaching writing has become an important skill to be developed. This is because of the arrivals of new technologies for rapid written communication like WhatsApp or Messenger. So this means that we as teachers, we need to pay more attention and to help students to learn how to write well. Could you please continue? Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about some characteristics of writing. So the first characteristic is that writing is permanent. So it means that a text, once written, can be easily reread or rewritten. Speech, on the other hand, doesn't have this possibility. It is dense. So usually the content of writing text, unlike the speech, it is presently densely, with little or no redundancy. That's why writing takes more time and effort than speaking. Writing is also asynchronous or time independent. So it means that we usually read a text sometime after this has been written. So even when we are chatting online, because there's a time lapse between the production and the reception of this message. The reader is not physically present, so the audience address for a written text is rarely physically present when a message is being written. Its production is slowly. So writing is much slower than other skills. That's the reason why it is used less than the other 4 skills in real life. Writing is also learned in a high prestige form. So as it was mentioned on the sociolinguistics class, we learn writing formally at school, whereas we learn talking when we are kids intuitively. And finally, writing uses more standard forms. So English speech varies depending on the lexis, the grammar, of the linguistic background of the speaker. Whereas writing tends to be like done in a conventional way, informal or formal way. Could you please continue? Okay, so formal and informal writing. So most writing is informal. So here we can see an example of a little story or maybe web pages. These are informal texts. And when we talk about newspaper articles or maybe the book that we're reading right now, this is formal writing. Could you please continue? Okay, so here we have some characteristics between formal writing and informal writing. When it tends to talk about grammar and lexis, we can say that the text of formal writing, the text follows standard grammatical and vocabulary rules. Whereas in formal writing, the text use more colloquial words and the vocabulary and the context, the vocabulary is contract. Then we have punctuation. For formal writing, we have a lot of rules or standard rules. And in formal writing, it is barely used. When we talk about detachment, formal writing, we can say that the writer is detached from the reader. And the text is not always done to be like fast read. And when we talk about informal writing, we can say that the writer usually knows the reader. And usually this writing is done for being respond fast. Could you please continue? Okay, so we have editing and redrafting. So when we talk about formal writing, the text is written as a draft and then it needs to be polished. And informal writing often includes some slips and ungrammatical usages. When we talk about the length, formal writing has more than a paragraph, and informal writing has just short sentences. And explicitness, formal writing is really clear, whereas informal writing has sometimes tends to be ambiguous. Could you please continue? Okay, so we have beginning writing and the letters. So here we have some advice, because we as teachers, we are working with children. Maybe we have done it, or maybe we would do it. So it is advisable to know how children start writing. And also this advice can be applied in 8th or 9th graders. So the first one is direction. So we need to provide students with a model of a correct direction of a writing. So how the letter A, for example, is written, in which direction, like left or right. Then we can also ask students to do rows of ways running from left to right. And then we can ask the students to practice the combination letters. Could you please continue? Okay, when it tends to take about the height and depth, we are talking about the arms and the tails of the letters. So as you can see, guys, in the example, the arm of the letter D goes, is the stick like that, that goes up, and the tail is the stick that goes down, like in the G form. So we need to teach students how to like reach the top line for the arms and the low line for the tails. And when we talk about the level, we need to teach them how to write like in a correct direction. When we talk about practical implications, it is advisable to use this kind of notebooks, which have like 4 lines, and the middle lines can help us to like the students draw really well the letters, like the letter C or maybe the letter O, and the up and low line can help students to reach the arms or the tails that I was mentioning before. Could you please continue? Okay, when it talks about typing, so we should teach the students how to type in our computers, because as it was mentioned at the beginning, most writing forms is done on the computer or cell phone. So we as English teachers, we should give the students a lot of opportunities to use the keyboard and also to write with the pencil. When it talks about speed and legibility, we can, so it is mentioned that we cannot have both separately. So we can ask, for example, the students to, in a dictation, for example, to write fast, but maybe the handwriting of the student is gonna be kind of difficult to understand. Whereas if we ask to students to focus on legibility, we can maybe be not focusing on the speed. Could you please continue? Okay, and beginner writing tasks. So the first one is copying. So when we ask the students to copy, so through copying, the students can practice letter formation with a scaffolding model. We also can ask the students to color models. So we can ask the students to write like sentences or paragraphs with different colors, or even to decorate their paper. Thoughtful copying. So copying according to a particular criteria. So we can provide the students a text and ask them to copy just, for example, the animals' names of the text. We also talk about transliteration. It means to transliterate words or cognates from the student's mother tongue. We also have dictation guides that we can dictate the students some words or some sentences in order to improve their writing. And completion, we can ask the students to complete, like give a students a complete sentence and give a gap or a space, and ask the students to complete this space with a picture describing the word. And that's it. Thank you.
Guys, I'm going to break you here, right? Let's please finish this tomorrow, because it is already 8, okay? So let's begin with this tomorrow. We'll finish this and the evaluation, and then we'll just move on. Correct?
Thank you.
All right. Have a nice evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.